So yeah, nice to meet everybody. Just as far as introductions are concerned, I'm Sean Coker, Regional Sales Manager for Deep Instinct, and I'm here with my colleague Jan Pol, who's Senior Sales Engineer. So any technical questions, Jan is your man, and he'll be holding me accountable to make sure that I stay honest throughout the presentation. So allow me to share my screen and we can kick this off. So there we go. We'll go to the start. Okay, right. So we're Deep Instinct, as you already know, and what we bring is a anti-malware prevention platform powered by deep learning. So we'll be elaborating all of that shortly, but really I want to take this back to the start and very, very simple question. Cybersecurity, what is it? Dumb question, but let's look at the two words. Cyber is information technology and communication, while security is freedom from threats, safety, essentially. So when we look at the world of cybersecurity today, do we have more tools than 10 years ago? 100%. Are we safer than 10 years ago? Absolutely not. And I've got a few different articles here to elaborate on that. I mean, the first one here, I think is quite interesting. Americans fear a cyber attack more than a nuclear attack. So truly shows we're in fifth dimensional warfare. Some of these other articles elaborate on this as far as everyone, well, most big firms these days have an EDR, endpoint detection response, but these are not perfect. And the article on the right-hand side, let me get my laser pointer out. This just shows that tools like ChatGPT can be tricked into breaching EDR. CISOs are resigning around the board. Likewise, the same with cybersecurity teams. And 90% of businesses aren't ready for cyber attacks. And then on the bottom left, we've got major breaches from 2023. Yeah, you can see that these figures are huge and they're increasing year on year. Andres, I've seen that you've rejoined. I'll continue and you'll carry on later, correct? I'll take the silence as yes. So, right. So everybody here already knows this massive problem. If we look at the history of how we even got to this point, well, a lot of this here is actually before my time, but you can see that at the start of cybersecurity, when we had the first signature-based antiviruses, they had a preventive rate of 98%, so very, very high. And really, as time went by, this truly dropped as attackers became smarter and there was just a lot more ways to exploit different tools. Really, from 2015 onwards, the industry made a shift where they figured that the threats were mutating so fast that true prevention was no longer possible. Hence, we moved into the realm of detection and response, which by its very name and nature, it is reactive. It is implying that a threat has already entered the system. Hence, you're trying to stop it as quickly as possible. And there's a variety of tools which allow you to do that, from EDRs, MDRs, XDRs, and others. So if we look at the fastest ransomware in the world, it can start encrypting within 1.5 seconds and it starts spreading within 3 seconds. And then it can start infecting other computers within the network within 15 to 20 seconds. So you can see it is always a race against time when you're dealing with such fast moving threats. And while the detection response, it is needed, it's also not good enough, as we know from all of the cyber attacks that are happening right now. And really what we're trying to do at Deep Instinct is to move away from this entire reactive detection and response mentality, bringing back to true prevention. So if we look at the life cycle of malware, a new malware is created. There's about 500,000 that are created per day. A mass infection happens. Then the malware is analyzed and it's essentially reverse engineered to create the features and the protection. And then via signature heuristics, machine learning, then these are programmed into the different cybersecurity softwares. But unfortunately, the cycle continues with this type of mentality, which is why breaches on the rise and solutions are struggling to keep up. These are some stats from the IBM security reports. you can see that the average cost of a breach and a ransomware attack is multi-millions, but possibly the most devastating is the time to remediate, 277 days. The amount of lost man hours, time, stress, really quite astronomical here. Hence, of course, we want to avoid breaches from happening. This gives a bit more details on some of the attacks that have happened this year, and this is across the board around the world, all manner of industries, companies, governments. I mean, we've got massive names like ABB, Rheinmetall. We've got multiple different hospitals. Likewise, with war happening in different countries like Ukraine, industrial-style cyber attacks have taken down power grids, hospitals, which really is devastating and shows that cybersecurity can actually be life-threatening in these type of use cases. So today, what we're seeing is 72% of attacks are utilizing unknown malware. So that is malware the world has never seen before. As mentioned, this attack complexity and sophistication increases. Our ability to respond tails off. Hence, we need the right tools. But unfortunately, the tools are failing us because these attacks just continue to increase. And they're really ranging from ransomware, multi-stage supply chain attacks, 0 days. And what's new and upcoming is adversarial AI, which we'll go into shortly. But due to the attack frequency, this is also increasing the burden on SOC teams, and likewise, very, very high false positive rates. So the SOC teams are forever chasing ghosts, which is also burdening them down. So as far as the future is concerned, it's going to be even more dire, where besides ChatGPT, there are actually services to create your own malware like Fraud GPT and Worm GPT. So for a few $100s a month, you can create as much malware as you'd like. And the fastest malware encrypts in 1.5 seconds. A few months ago, it was 3 seconds. A few months' time from now, it's going to be even quicker. So really, detection and response is not going to be sufficient when we move into the future with AI mutating malware that is able to encrypt in record-breaking speeds. So where do we come in? Well, we have a predictive prevention platform that has the following let's call them promises or company guarantees. We have a 99% prevention against unknown threats. So malware that is coming out in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months time, you still have this type of prevention. And the beauty is this actually works 100% offline. We don't need a cloud connection. We don't need constant updates. We actually only update the brain around twice per year. That is how good the technology is. Included with this is a false positive rate of 0.1%. Other solutions, 1, 2, 5, 10+%. So this is absolutely tiny and really, really reduces the burden on SOC teams. And the prevention rate is in under 20 milliseconds. So faster than the fastest malware can ever encrypt. The beauty is that the prevention happens before a file is ever written to disk, before it's ever executed. What happens in all other solutions today is the file is actually written on disk, and then only when it's opened, that is when it will do some behavioral analysis and it will quarantine the file. We do all of this from the earliest possible moment in the attack chain. So the key question I'm sure everybody's asking is, how on earth can we do this, as these stats seem to be too good to be true? Well, they're all correct. We've got some tests we will show you from live customer POVs, and real life customers are using this technology. But the simple yet not simple answer is we're utilizing deep learning technology. So what is deep learning? So deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which is a subset of AI. So AI is really a broad term as far as computers that have some type of thinking ability. And deep learning is, let's say, the highest level of AI that we have today. So all other solutions right now are using machine learning, which had its time as far as being effective, but as years go by, it's proving a lot less so. Really, what you see in some of the biggest and best tech companies, they're all utilizing deep learning as well. Down here, it's probably a bit small for anyone to see it, but some examples of deep learning utilizations would be self-driving cars, Google, when you can just type in a word in your images and it'll find you all the images with that particular word. So this is really at the forefront of technology right now. The key difference with machine learning is, with machine learning, you need a human input, you need a feature engineer, as opposed to deep learning, where it's all autonomous and is utilizing 100% of available data. Well, with machine learning, you're only ever able to take a subset of data to create that feature, to then create your program. Let's humanize this in a slightly different way. So I have 2 children and neither of them speak yet, but of course, as a child, they're being bombarded by information and they're learning about the world and their neural network is being created. Deep learning is essentially an artificial neural network. So taking this example of the little boy and the cat and the dog. So over the course of many years, he's going to get a huge amount of exposure to different cats and different dogs. And at some point, he will be able to differentiate between the two without even being able to describe what makes this a dog and what makes this a cat. And that's really the same with all of us right now. You'll see a husky, you'll see a chihuahua, you'll know what it is, and you'll probably know the breed. But what if somebody asked you to describe it? That's going to be extremely difficult. And no matter how much time you're given and how detailed you are, you're never, ever going to be able to describe it in 100% accuracy. That is really the core difference between machine learning and deep learning. And if we also take this type of image here, so there's a variety of chihuahuas and there's a variety of blueberry muffins. It is nearly impossible for a machine learning algorithm to be able to differentiate between these. You as humans, you can look at this and you know straight away what it is, which is partially why a lot of websites have those different security tests to check that you're human. With deep learning, it is able to differentiate between these two. So to elaborate a little bit more on what I've just spoken about, deep learning on average uses less than 2% of available data. Machine learning, 2%. Deep learning uses 100% of all raw data. Machine learning requires human input. Deep learning is 100% autonomous and self-learning. And then when it comes to file types, machine learning is relatively limited, while deep learning is actually able to be used with all file types. And what this means is the false positive rate, here it says 1 to 2%, but in real life, it can be a lot higher. And then when it comes to unknown threats, the unknown malware, we've done a lot of testing and it is confirmed. On average, 50 to 70% accuracy against unknown threats, as opposed to a deep learning algorithm where less than 0.1% false positives and over a 99% accuracy against unknown threats. So this is quite cliche, but the Americans love it. Fight AI with AI. Of course, in the world that we're living with, where AI threats are increasing the risk profile, everyone will need their own benign AI to automate that defense for you. To delve a little bit more into some of the extra aspects on the slide, I mentioned already, we never write to disk. It's not reliant on heuristics or signature, and there is no threat intelligence feeds required either. That means that customer data never ever leaves their environment. It is all done locally. Therefore, if you actually want to be using this technology 100% offline, that is completely doable. And we have customers in the defense industry and certain governments that are using this 100% offline as well. And yeah, really, as far as the model is concerned, it is extremely resilient, which is why we only need the 2 updates per year. And even without those updates, yeah, it still works very, very well. We had examples where an agent wasn't updated for more than 12 months, and it was still able to stop over 99% of malware that were downloaded that day. When my colleague Jan gives you a quick demo, you will also see that his agent was last updated in May, and the threats he is going to bombard it with were downloaded today. So really quite impressive as far as how it can work 100% offline. Likewise, any of these slides, if you want to view them in more detail, I'll be happy to share them as well at the end of the presentation. So, of course, the key question is, all of these different attacks that we've witnessed over the many years, could Deep Instinct have prevented them? Well, the answer is yes. When an attack happens, we, of course, go to a laboratory, model it, and test it on an older brain to double check, could we have stopped it? In the rare example that we don't stop it, of course, we train the brain, and then we'll update all the brains to make sure that they're protected. But as mentioned, it's over a 99% prevention capability. So these three very big attacks in particular, everyone may remember the Colonial Pipeline that was shut down for multiple days in May 2021. Well, back in May 2021, we tested this and we could have stopped it with our technology. And that's not just for ransomware, that is also for zero-day attacks and for other types of vulnerabilities as well. So really, if you want to be protected today, in the future, for attacks 12 months from now, this type of technology is essential because it has been proven. We are not constantly needing to update it like all other technologies out there, because signature, heuristics, machine learning, they will always need to have updates to stay on top of modern type of threats. I mentioned before as far as efficacy tests. So these are some examples of different vendors, and these were done in an online type of capability. So even when they were connected to the internet, you can see that with two of these vendors, they weren't amazing. The third one here did actually quite well, but as soon as the internet was connected for a few days, you can imagine that all of these dropped off besides our own. Whether it's online or offline, it actually doesn't make any difference as far as the efficacy is concerned. So as mentioned, current solutions are reactive, and that increases the burdens on the SOC teams as they're forever hunting ghosts with false positives and just being overburdened with alerts. And this is the case whether you have an internal or an external SOC. So we want to move away from being reactive. We're trying to be as proactive as possible. So one of the benefits of this technology is, due to stopping nearly all threats, the burden on the SOC team can be lowered from 30 to 50, sometimes even higher %. So you can imagine that is a massive cost saving and a massive time saving for the team as well. So who are we? Who is this company that is making these crazy type of statements? So we were founded in 2015. We've got headquarters in Tel Aviv, New York, and London, Tokyo, and the team is dispersed around the world. Our investors include BlackRock, PayPal, NVIDIA, and some of the biggest companies out there. And we have multiple different patents on our technology and industry recognition. To delve a little bit more into the brains behind the operation, well, the three main individuals I'd like to tell you about. So firstly, the CEO is Lane Bess. He is the former CEO of Zscaler and Palo Alto Networks. He is a multi-billionaire. He retired. He was living on his yachts in Miami, and he came out of retirement to run this company. That is how excited he is about the technology. Carl Froggatt, he is our CIO, the former global CISO of Citibank. Once again, he tested this technology extensively. He onboarded it at Citi, and then we managed to poach him. And once again, 24 years at Citibank, 16 years as global CISO. So really at the forefront of cybersecurity. And then lastly, we have Shimon here, and I'll mention our founder as well, Guy Caspi. All of the, let's say, techie brains of the operation, they're in Tel Aviv, and what they have in common is they all have military backgrounds, all part of cyber defense units. So they were using deep learning technology to predict and prevent missiles coming into Israel. And really, they took this type of deep learning technology used by the Iron Dome system to create this this cybersecurity company. Hence, now they're able to accurately predict and prevent malware. So before we go a bit more into the products that we have, I just want to highlight as far as why now. Well, we already talked about how the threat landscape right now is bad and it's going to continue to get worse. And incumbent solutions are using older technology, and this technology will always be playing catch up. So really, as far as the peace of mind of everybody is concerned, this technology is essential. If you remember the first article I showed about the CISOs leaving the industry in swarms, I mean, that's the thing. Cybersecurity teams are under huge amounts of pressure, and this is why they need this type of preventive technology to really understand that, yes, the business is safe and secure. Involved with this is, of course, reducing risk. This is the only technology where you can be certain that malware that will be out in the future, you'll be protected against. Likewise, this is, of course, going to reduce your vendor and staff churn and lower the burden on SOC teams. And one of the key bits here is data. We don't train on any customer data, and therefore data never ever leaves the customer environment. Hence, you'll always be compliant and make sure customer data is secure. Besides these two aspects, there's actually multiple different ways that our clients were reducing their costs. Of course, we have the AV Sandbox EPP replacement that is, a way of tool consolidation. But besides that, well, due to lowering the SOC alerts, this will lower, of course, the cost of SOC. So if it's an external SOC and you're paying for a package or a ticket, you can, of course, downgrade that, so massively reducing that. Or if you have an internal SOC, well, your team is going to be more efficient and not being burdened down by the alerts. With the majority of EDR vendors out there, we know that a lot of their revenue is actually from additional services, up to 50%. So it's not just a matter of you buying their solution, you're paying for services through your ears indefinitely. That is not the case with ourselves. In some ways, when we speak with people and we show a demo, it's so quick and easy. It's not really as exciting as other solutions are out there, just because it truly is prevention. It doesn't have all of the bells and whistles of what an EDR will bring. That said, we can work with any EDR because we are not an EDR. We will elaborate on that. The final aspect here, which is quite interesting. So the CPU and RAM utilization of deep learning technology is extremely low. It is on average about 50% lower, both in use and at rest versus an antivirus, meaning there's a lot of cost saving that can be found on server or endpoint utilization just due to not having to burden down the machines with this technology. So this is the holistic overview of where we see Deep Instinct slotting in, where whatever the weak points are on the organization, this is where we're going to try and help them to fill the gaps. So we do not have products for all of these different aspects, but they will be coming out. What we will be talking about today is endpoints, storage, and applications. That said, though, via the application side, we can actually link to a lot of SaaS and cloud storage as well. So it's very versatile. So these are the three products, which I'll elaborate on shortly. They're all linked to a management console. This is normally hosted in the cloud, and this is where we will be doing the model updates, and you'll be able to do the different aspects of management. But even though it is normally hosted in the cloud, there are options to have this on premise. And I mentioned before defense. So the UK MOD is using this technology, and they're using it 100% offline. So yeah, no cloud connection whatsoever. So firstly, DPS. This is the very first product. Well, sorry, this is the newest product in our portfolio, is actually not out yet. It will be released in the next few weeks. We have a webinar planned on that if anyone would like to join. But right now with storage, there's a massive gap in the market. When we speak with prospects, half of them say that they're not doing full scans anymore because it is just too slow, IT intensive. And the other half that are, as mentioned, it's extremely slow and it's very, very heavy on the machine. So what we're bringing out is a native integration with Dell and NetApp. Pure Storage is coming out soon. And then this will also be working with AWS S3 with other clouds coming out in the future. And similar to what we spoke about earlier, files are scanned in less than 20 milliseconds with this extremely high efficacy. This means you'll be able to do full scans again. And what's really important is there is a lot of malware that can reside within storage. And really, if you were to move a file from one storage to another, this could be catastrophic, as was the case with Cloud Nordic, where they were moving to another service, malware got moved over and it encrypted all of their backups and they've lost all of their data because they were not willing to pay the ransom. So this is really going to fill a massive niche because things like antiviruses, they miss novel malware, and yeah, they're just too slow and cumbersome. So Deep Instinct for applications. This is probably the most versatile product that we have, as the storage and endpoint solution is an agent. This is agentless. So to elaborate on all of that shortly, you can see that 2/5 of malware downloads are in malicious Office documents, and all of the solutions out there will usually let the file write to disk, execute, and then they will quarantine it, which overall is a very risky strategy to be doing. So when it comes to files, millions are being moved around internally, externally, with partners, between customers. And as is often the case, there might be no scanning that is happening, or if it is, they're using the following 3 solutions. So we mentioned antiviruses before. They miss novel malware. They're very intensive and they require frequent updates, whether it's daily, weekly. Not the case with deep learning. With sandboxes, it takes a few minutes per file. So once again, very slow, not scalable at all if you're dealing with massive amounts of files. And then when it comes to CDRs, well, they actually destroy legitimate content within files. So not great if you're dealing with something like an e-signature. And that's not the case with ourselves at all. So how does it look? It is essentially integratable to anything via a RESTful API or ICAP, and it is a Dockerized container which can be on premise or it can be wherever you'd like it to be. And this means it is extremely flexible, and you could link it to any manner of services, whether it be email attachments, or maybe web gateways where you have customers uploading, downloading, or maybe a partner portal where files are being exchanged. Or one of the biggest customers is Citibank. So they are actually using this for 270 different custom applications. And what's interesting is the throughput is 280 gigabytes per hour per Docker, meaning millions of files per day, no problem at all. And you could run multiple Dockers if you have crazy type of requirements. And not to mention, this covers all file types as well. Some examples are right here. As mentioned, if you want to delve into this in more detail, we will share this content with you. And of course, if you want a demo on this, Jan can organize it. But for today, we will cover more the endpoint agent. And just to elaborate a bit more, here we have the Predictive Prevention Hub. And as mentioned, you can link this to whatever you wish, as long as it can be using API or ICAP. As another example of utilization of this, there was a German company that had a breach last year, they weren't using Deep Instinct, as you can imagine. Now, their consultant said it was going to take them 6 months to transfer the compromised files over to the new service. So they got in touch with us. We worked with them. It took 4 weeks for this file transfer to happen. So really quite astonishing as far as how quick this was able to be done with Deep Instinct for applications. As another example here, we have both WeTransfer and Box as customers. So when it came to WeTransfer, they're of course dealing with huge numbers of files, and neither antiviruses nor sandboxes were doing the job for them. When they were testing this out, they ran 35 million files, 15 million files through it, and they found 38 false positives. So that is 0.00 less than, I don't have a calculator, but you can imagine it's tiny, very, very low false positive rate, extremely scalable. So now both of these file transferring services are using DPA to ensure that the billions of files that they're dealing with are protected, and they're using this on public cloud. But in the example of Citibank, they are using this on premise. So yeah, it's completely up to yourselves on how you'd like to be using this. And then that brings us on to DPE. So I will shortly pass it on to Jan so he can show you what does it look like, how does it actually stop this type of malware. But as mentioned, it is a solution installed locally on the agent, or it can be installed on the server, or it can be installed on mobile devices as well. And as mentioned before, prevents malware in 20 milliseconds. It's extremely lightweight. And the management console can also be integrated to different EDRs, XDRs. And I suppose to also mention, when we talk about EDR and the deployment, it usually is a year-long process. It takes a long time to deploy. With ourselves, depending on the size of the organization, it can be done within weeks. If we're talking about a massive government, then it's going to take a few months, but the deployment is a lot easier and simpler than an EDR. So I mentioned Citibank. Another example is Barclays. So they were moving over to Defender, and they wanted to double check, is just Defender good enough? And on testing, they found no, it wasn't. I will elaborate a little bit more on that shortly. But interestingly enough, they actually found a cost saving of 9.5 mil here, and that came from less time spent on investigating threats, less downtime as far as endpoint fatigue, and then of course lowered SOC alerts as well. And just to elaborate a little bit more on the testing, we've got a slide on that. So they're using Defender as an EDR. We're a +1 on top. So they bombarded both with 600 malicious files. So this was during the POV. So firstly, they ran it online. So you can see even online, Defender missed a fair bit, and offline, it missed a lot. And that was as opposed to ourselves, where in this particular test, we stopped 100%. But of course, that's not always the case. Hence, we say over 99%. So yeah, we're being used as a +1 on top for Barclays, and that is the case for most of our clients as well. And we can work with any EDR vendor, really just improving their preventative capabilities and then lowering the alerts as well. That is my section done. So I have been speaking for a very long time. Hopefully there are multiple questions. So let's answer these questions, and then we will pass it over to Jan. Andreas, maybe if you want to read the questions and then finish off what you were talking about before.
I can see the question, so I would give it. So the first question is how this solution influences XDRs and their threat frameworks. It's a good question. We see in the landscape out there with our competitors They are using their technology, of course, with signature heuristics and machine learning based solutions to prevent malware. And they put a lot of managed service into it, because we heard EDR is not enough, and they know all the signals are overwhelming the companies out there. So what can we do? We provide more managed service to earn more money from our customers, of course. And how it changed that, I would say even companies can save money with our solution, because we can reduce the signals with our solution, because we have our false positive rate less than 0.1%, like Sean already said to us. But we are focusing on the malware prevention. When you think about XDR, we do not look for example, network signals. We can scan files in transfer over the network, of course, but we do not see something what an EDR would looking for behavior analysis, for example. We can do behavior analysis, but all malware based, not for example, traditionally an EDR would create a signal when I type in who am I, but it's not malicious by design. Just an example given. So what we can do, we reduce the signals and reduce the costs in the company. I hope this answers the question. Second question. How other vendors are dealing with deep learning in their platform's products. They do not use deep learning so far. They are using machine learning, even when they told you they're using deep learning. Could be that they use deep learning, but more in a generative AI deep learning way, for example, like ChatGPT, but not for malware prevention. And even more, we use deep learning for example, PE files, Office files, PDF files, PowerShell code, JavaScript code, and so on. So we have a lot of deep learning algorithm to prevent malware, what other competitors are not doing. Even when they're using machine learning, mostly they use heuristics or a signature, for example, for PDF or for Office files, and they are focusing the machine learning code just for PE files. But we have to say, deep learning is the future. And I think the other competitors, they know that. So when we look in the future, maybe between 3 and 5 years in the future, I assume that that our competitors are using deep learning as well. But the fact that we are using it now, we are still today 5 years in front of our customers with our technology and our knowledge how to prevent malware with deep learning. The third question, which deep learning algorithm is the technology built on? So that's a really good question as well. We built our own deep learning algorithm. Here, maybe you think for TensorFlow from Google, for example, which you can use for your specific case. But we designed our own deep learning algorithm, which is patented, to prevent malware. So when we think for TensorFlow, it's a good base for something, but we have a focused deep learning algorithm to prevent malware based on scanning the binary files. So we have our own framework for that, our own deep learning algorithm, not a common one, which can be used for everything, but nothing that is good when you're focused on. And based on that, we extend our file types, of course, continuously. And we cover with our deep learning algorithm today already a lot of files, the common use case, all of that. And like I said, even the fileless attacks, for example, PowerShell or JavaScript or something like that. I hope this question answered, this answer answered the question that way. That's all for now. If you have further questions during my demo now, please type it into it. And I will see what I can do for you. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now, and I will present our DPE product. For you, our DPE product is based on the deep learning algorithm I already told you. And what you can see today in our DPE product, this deep learning algorithm is based in all of our products. So Sean told you something about Deep Instinct for Endpoint. This is the little agent, the little lightweight agent you can see here. But all the deep learning algorithm he is using, it's the same in our Deep Instinct Prevention for Application, which is the in-transit scanner. It can be used via RESTful API or via the ICAP protocol. So every kind of file type which you can scan in transit before it's reached to your IT infrastructure. And in our upcoming DPS product, Deep Instinct Prevention for Storage, where we want to prevent incoming files or malicious files to your storage. Here we use, of course, the same one. So we extend our product line continuously based on our proven deep learning algorithm. So again, what you can see here, it's based in all of our products. It's the same. Okay, let's start. You can see here, I built a machine, and the last communication with our management console and even with the internet was in May. So we are already in version 5, for example. But what I did, I downloaded yesterday some malware examples from VirusTotal. So we have here, for example, 31 Office files, which includes doc, docx, xls, and xlsx files, PDF files 100, and PE files 685, 85, and we have here about 190 megabyte of files. What I'm doing now is I will copy all that files. So about how many I said, about 816 files to my desktop. And we will see how fast we can prevent all that files without any execution. So we can detect all malicious content in a pre-executed way. So no execution, no signal, better for the SOC team. What we do else is we are looking to our task manager. So in the idle mode, we consumed about 100 megabytes and 0% CPU rate. And when I'm starting to copy the files now, we can see that during the scan, during the prevention, it increased maybe about 200, 250 megabytes and maybe between 30 and 50% CPU rate, but only for the short time where our D-client, our agent, prevents all that malware. So 190 megabytes and around 800 files. So let's start. Maybe I copy it again. Or my keyboard doesn't work. Maybe that way. Paste. So you can see it starts and nothing happened in the target folder because we are on a pre-execution level. 50% CPU rate and about 90 megabytes memory. And after about maybe 20-25 seconds, it's done. We see directly into it. It's an empty folder. Nothing happened. So we prevented in that short time new malware, which downloaded yesterday, first seen yesterday on a machine which is that is disconnected from the internet since May. So I would say it's a really good proven for our technology. And let's go to a more common world example. So we all know that most malware arise through Outlook, through the internet, when one of our customer sees a new email. Oh, Amazon Business, yeah, could be created from myself or from my manager. So okay, let's see registration Amazon Business. Double click on it. operation fail because we prevented it in a pre-execution level. So even when I go to the next mail from Office 365, for example, the spam report, and I want only see it in preview, we prevented it because we do not want to load this report in our memory and something happened, because all the signals that would be happened from memory or something else means something. A signal always means something happened in my infrastructure. With our solution, we prevent it, we generate the event from the prevention, but no further signals. So let's do it with our other examples very quick. So even the PDF file, it's prevented, and my Internet Explorer or my Edge browser cannot find the file because it's already gone into quarantine. And the last one, when I look here again into preview, Word file, it's prevented. So you can keep your endpoint completely clean against malware. So now we have seen malware prevention live with since May disconnected PC, and a common example, for example, with incoming mails, but it could be, for example, a connected USB stick as well, where we prevent all these kinds of malware before it executed. Where will it send? So we have here management console. This is our management console, and here you can collect all events and configure all policies for your infrastructure. And all of our products are using this management console. So you do not have different kind of management console per product. You have one management console for each product. So very important, when I click into the events, I see all the prevented malware. In my case, it's of course a lot, because it's my daily business to copy malware from A to B in efficacy tests, for example, or in demos like today. So when I look into one here, for example, malware ransomware, I think, oh, that could be interesting. I see all the metadata that were uploaded to my management console. And this is very important. We would never upload a file from your infrastructure in our management console. The only thing what you can see here is the metadata from the event itself. So what we can see here is, for example, the file hash from the specific file we prevented. We see here a short process chain. Of course, it's short because it's prevented. You see our brain prevented it, threats are relatively very high, and the origin path, file path, size, and what kind of file path. And very interesting as well, we see here the specification, or on what based our deep learning algorithm is thinking it should be prevented, or it had prevented. So by 88%, it's a ransomware, by 8% it's a virus, 2% is a dropper, 1% is a spyware. Sometimes you can see, for example, here, let me pick another one. It's by 100% dropper, so he's very, very sure. But based on the binary he's looking for, he made his decision and prevent all kinds of malware, even it's not written yet. So what have we else here? We have some metadata about the event, and from the endpoint itself, that the administrator or the SOC team knows, okay, the device name is the stage W10 staging machine with the following device ID, what kind of platform and OS, and IP address. Declined version dbrain. Dbrain means our deep learning algorithm, and so on, what kind of policy, and so on. But nothing else. So, which means no sandbox, which is very slow and collects data maybe. We do not calculate our deep learning algorithm with your data. Already Sean said that. And we upload just metadata to this console, nothing else. It's very important. Like other vendors upload a whole file into a cloud to a sandbox environment, for example, or for further analysis to training the all machine learning algorithm and extend the intel, which is learning from you, to the own intelligence to defend further malware, maybe for other customers they have. But in our case, we have a finished trained deep learning algorithm. And when we bring a new version, for example, out to our customers, it's mostly we extended our brain to, for example, a new file type. So we saw in the past that the threat landscape extends into direction like LNK files. So what did we do? We extended our algorithm with detecting LNK files. So this is mostly when we bring a new update to our customer, what's inside that brain, because we already detect 99% malware and up more than 99%, and this is what what's included in the new brain. So this was a short introduction, a short demo from our endpoint product. Our DPS product works nearly the same. It's tightly integrated into, for now, Dell and NetApp management servers. Here we have a certified agent, which scans modified new file creation and so on. As soon the Dell or the NetApp management knows that. So we are working tightly with these vendors together, that we have those clients, certified clients for all that malware prevention. And then transit scanner, that's very interesting as well, because our DPA product, you can use it wherever you want to. You just need an ICAP protocol or a RESTful API. And here you don't need really a management console anymore, because in case of RESTful API, you send it through, you receive a JSON response, and all of that kind of information, it's inside the JSON response. And based on that, you can decide whatever you want to do with your file. For example, put it into quarantine, or bring it into a quarantine folder, send it to all your employees if you want a happy time, for example. Just kidding. But you don't need really a management console anymore. And with one Docker container, we can scan up to 288 gigabytes per hour. And of course, you can increase it by when you use it in a cluster. Here we support Docker, Kubernetes, and OpenShift. And if you're interested in one of these technology, we are happy to schedule another demo where we can dig a little bit deeper. But I think for now, it's a good overview how our product is working, how our prevention is working. We are going one step further. We make predictive prevention, why we can prevent malware, which is not written yet. For example, even Evil GPT or Warm GPT, it's the way where the threat landscape is going to. We can prevent it before it's executed, before it generates a signal, and reduce the burden from the SOC team. Okay, I think there are two questions. Could you elaborate how does the algorithm actually understands if the file is malware or not? How is it done so fast? What parameters are looked at? Okay, this is mainly the difference between machine learning and deep learning. So we scan just the binary files. And for example, a machine learning algorithm is trained very fast with less data. You can train a machine learning algorithm, for example, with 10,000 data or 100,000 data. A deep learning algorithm is based on billions of data. So for example, 500 billion files we put into, say, okay, this training cycle, you get benign files, and the next cycle you get malicious files. And based on that, the deep learning algorithm can look for the specificas they have to looking for. They can compare between benign files and malicious files. Of course, we say this is malicious PE files, and this is benign PE files, and another completely new algorithm is based for Office files, for example. So each file type has its own deep learning algorithm. And based on that, we can detect that fast malicious content, because we just scan it. It's offline. It's completely up to the resources from the endpoint. Don't need any cloud connection, no upload, no sandbox. It's just the little lightweight agent, the deep learning algorithm in it, and the way that's finished, that's the way why we do it that fast. I hope this is answering your question. And the last one, does your agent have protection from stopping or deleting? I mean, you're speaking from ransomware, as I think. Yes, of course, because ransomware is basically malware. And here we detect a malware before it's executed. So Sean said it already, the fastest malware is 1.5 seconds. And we can stop the malware in a pre-execution level in 20 milliseconds or less. So way before it's executed, way before something happened, way before a file is encrypted. And so we can stop the ransomware, stop the encryption before it's started. And that's the way how we do it. So the answer is yes. All right. New questions. Is there any sort of dynamic analysis the system can do? Yes, we have 3 layers. So we have a multi-layer approach. We have the static analysis. What you can see here, yeah, this is based on scanning the file binaries by 100% to detect malware in the pre-execution level. But of course, we all know there are fileless attacks as well. So we have, even for PowerShell or for JavaScript, for example, deep learning algorithm. If you have, for example, a RAIC attack, which based on a PowerShell attack, so what downloads you at the end a RAIC ransomware, we can see, based on the PowerShell code itself, what will be happened and can prevent it in a fileless state. What we have as well, we have in our policy, for example, here behavior analysis for the second line of defense, everything what happened in memory. We can prevent it, of course, as well, and we extend this behavior analysis lineup constantly. For example, in version 5, we added 2 further in-memory protection layers where we can stop malware in memory-based attack. Very important here, maybe combined to these questions, what we else have, we have, because even we have to exclude something in a system, for example, SQL Exchange or something else, like other vendors do it as well, or have to do this as well. But we divided it into a 2-tier exclude. So we have the exclusion, that's what the others do as well. Here we turn off the static analysis and the behavior analysis, but we always say, try to do it to put it into the allow list, because the allow list turns off the static analysis, but keeps the behavior analysis turned on. Just an example, I have here my file path, for example, the C tools. In the C tools folder was the source folder where I had my malware put into. From that source folder, I copied it into my non-allow listed desktop folder. So in that way, I could demonstrate my malware because the static analysis is turned off. But when I have this, when I have a ransomware, for example, in that folder, we have here an ransomware behavior here, behavior tool for the in-memory protection. So even if I have a allow listed folder and a ransomware folder, ransomware file would placed in that allow listed folder, we can prevent it. So with our in-memory protection, we see the change of the entities and can prevent those attacks in two ways: static analysis and the behavior analysis, so the in-memory protection. And even if we have a allow-listed folder or something else, we prevent the endpoint too with our in-memory protection, because it's still switched on via the allow-listed path. Something else. Companies who make telemetry solutions for security, are they on wrong path? Yeah, I would say yes, of course, because deep learning is the new shit of preventing malware. I'm sorry for my words, but I mean, we are a company from, I think we started 2015, and many of these companies was created, I don't know, in the 80s, in the early 2000s, and so they built up their whole technology based on signatures, heuristics. Then it came out malware, machine learning, and the step from going to machine learning into deep learning is very cost incentive. So we had the luck that we started with deep learning, so we didn't have the cost before the deep learning world, because you need a lot of GPU powers. So what we did, we booked a lot of VMs GPU based, and it's very, very, very cost incentive. So I think the burden from a lot of these companies are still the costs, because you need good knowledge people, which is with good knowledge deep learning people, and the costs for the huge amount of GPUs out there to learn it, to train your deep learning algorithm. So I think these two facts are for now the stopper for all that companies. And like I said, I think in the next between 2, 3, and 5 years, you will see more companies that they are switching from their old machine learning into the new deep learning world. But like I said, we are way before that. We have 5 years more knowledge about that kind of technology, like our competitors. Other questions? I would say, well, let's wait 2 minutes. And I mean, if you have questions after you see the presentation slides again, or you have new questions after our call, you can write us an email. We are happy to answer them. If you want to schedule a demo where we can dig a little bit deeper, or what we love to do, we want to prove our value, our added value to you. So, I mean, all these beautiful marketing slides, that's it looks nice, it looks cool, it had the new design. I like that. We have another one, but we are happy to prove our added value, not just in slides and these nice demo. We want to bring it to you, that you can choose what do you want to test with our solution. Is it really better than our current one? And what we love to make a fixity test, for example, to your current solution, or you want to test, I don't know, copy and malware again in your environment, or we bring our environment with. We can do that as well in our proof of value, where we want to bring the added value to you, and you can test it within weeks with a success plan, what you want to test, and to prove that we're not saying some marketing something.
To add to what Jan said, I mean, don't take our word for it, test it, and you'll see that this is miles ahead of everything else out there. Every POV we've done has been a technical win.